Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. When I first met Claire, I genuinely believed I'd stumbled upon something rare, something that could last. She had this light about her, a warmth that made everyone around her feel comfortable. I wasn't immune to it either. From our first conversation, I was drawn in by her energy, her laughter, her effortless way of making ordinary moments feel significant. Our relationship began like any other. Late-night calls, long drives, laughter over coffee, and dreams about a shared future. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the woman I'll spend my life with. After a year of dating, I proposed, and she said yes, tears glistening in her eyes. That moment felt like everything I'd ever wanted was finally real. I didn't know that the same person who promised me forever would later humiliate me in front of the world. It started subtly, as these things often do. She would mention her ex, Mark, here and there. We used to come to this restaurant, she'd say casually, or Mark used to love this movie. At first, I brushed it off. After all, everyone has a past, right? But it began to happen more often than I was comfortable with. I'd notice her scrolling through her phone with a faint smile, and when I'd ask what was funny, she'd dismiss it with, "Oh, nothing, just an old memory." Still, I try to trust her. Love, they say, is built on that, trust. But sometimes, trust can blind you to the truth standing right in front of you. One Saturday afternoon, I came home early from work. She was sitting on the couch, typing something on her phone with a faint smirk. She didn't notice me at first. When she realized I was standing there, she quickly locked her screen and smiled. "Hey, you're home early," she said, her voice a little too bright. Something inside me stirred, but I didn't want to seem paranoid. That night, though, my curiosity got the better of me. She had fallen asleep beside me, her phone on the nightstand, notifications lighting up the screen. I didn't touch it. I just stared at it, wondering why I suddenly felt like a stranger to the woman beside me. The next morning, she posted a picture of us together on her social media, captioned, "Lucky to have you." I smiled at that, thinking maybe I'd been overthinking things. But then everything changed. A few days later, while scrolling through my feed, my heart froze. There it was, Claire's latest post. It wasn't a picture of us. It wasn't a happy selfie or an engagement update. It was a photo of her sitting on another man's lap, her ex, Mark. In the photo, she was smiling, leaning comfortably into him like they were lovers again. And the caption? "Sometimes you miss the old days." My stomach dropped. I felt an odd mixture of shock, disbelief, and anger all at once. The world seemed to tilt slightly, as if the floor beneath me wasn't solid anymore. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, people laughing, reminiscing, tagging friends. Some even wrote, "You two were perfect together," or memories. And there I was, her fiancé, watching strangers romanticize a woman I loved sitting in another man's lap. I didn't know what to think. Was this a joke? A memory post? Some kind of throwback? But no, there was nothing in the caption to suggest it was old. It was just there, public, intimate, disrespectful. I waited. Maybe she'd message me, explain, say it was a misunderstanding. But she didn't. Not that evening. Not even the next morning. It was as if she had forgotten that she was engaged to someone, me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just kept staring at the ceiling, her face flashing in my mind. That photo burned into my thoughts. My phone buzzed with messages from friends and even co-workers. People asking, "Hey, is everything okay with you and Claire?" Some tried to comfort me. Others simply wanted to gossip. I felt humiliated, betrayed. When I confronted her the next morning, she looked irritated, not guilty. "It was just a post," she said flatly, crossing her arms. "You're overreacting." Overreacting. I repeated, barely keeping my voice steady. "You posted a picture sitting on your ex's lap and wrote, 'Sometimes you miss the old days.' What am I supposed to think, Claire?" She rolled her eyes. "It's an old photo, okay? It's just a memory. Why do you always have to twist everything? Then why didn't you say that in the caption? I asked. I didn't think I had to, she snapped. It's not that deep, James. Not that deep. That's what she said. As if publicly disrespecting our relationship wasn't deep enough. As if publicly sitting on another man's lap, the man she once loved, meant nothing. I looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time, I saw her not as the woman I wanted to believe she was, but as she truly was, someone who didn't value the same things I did. The days after were filled with silence. I stopped trying to talk. She didn't bother to apologize. We went through the motions of daily life, but the warmth between us had vanished. Every time she smiled at her phone, I felt that same ache in my chest. Then one evening, she came home later than usual. She smelled faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. I didn't say a word. I just stared at her, waiting for her to offer something. Anything. Don't start, she said tiredly. It's been a long day. She went straight to the bedroom, shutting the door behind her. I sat there in the living room, numb, staring at the ring on my finger. The engagement ring that once symbolized love now felt like a chain. That night, I made a decision. I couldn't keep living like this, doubting her, feeling small, being treated like I didn't matter. So instead of confronting her again, I decided to respond in silence. The next morning, while she was still asleep, I began listing everything she had left at my place. The clothes, the accessories, the gifts we bought together. I took photos of each item, carefully labeling them. Then I made an online marketplace account and listed them for sale one by one. Each post felt like a quiet act of closure, a symbolic release. I wasn't doing it out of spite. It was more like reclaiming my space, my peace. By the afternoon, I had sold most of her designer things. People came by to pick them up, chatting casually, not realizing that each exchange was me letting go of something once tied to her. When she woke up, I was in the living room, typing on my laptop. "Where's my bag?" she asked, frowning. "Which one?" I asked without looking up. "My Chanel," she said sharply. "The one on the chair." "Sold it," I said simply. She froze. "You what?" I looked up at her then, calm and composed. "I listed everything that belonged to you. People bought most of it already. The rest will be gone by tonight." Her jaw dropped. "You can't be serious, James. Are you insane?" "I'm just obeying what you showed me," I said quietly. "You miss the old days, right? Then go back to them." For the first time in weeks, she didn't have anything to say. Her face turned pale. "Get your remaining things by tonight," I continued. "After that, I'll consider this engagement done." She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She just stood there, trembling slightly, perhaps realizing that she had finally gone too far. I walked past her, out of the apartment, and took a deep breath. The air felt different, cleaner somehow. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had regained control of my life. Later that night, I saw that she had taken the post down, but it didn't matter anymore. The damage was already done. What once was love had turned into a lesson, a painful one but necessary. I had learned that when someone shows you who they are, you have to believe them, and that no matter how much you love someone, you can't force them to respect you. I didn't respond to her text that night or the next morning. I didn't answer when she called crying, saying she made a mistake. I'd already moved on in my heart. The photo she posted was her mistake, but the way I handled it was my peace. And in the silence that followed, I realized sometimes losing someone isn't a tragedy. It's freedom disguised as heartbreak. In the days that followed, I expected Claire to show up, maybe with an apology, maybe with tears, maybe with some kind of explanation that could soften the edges of what had happened. But she didn't. Instead, silence filled the space where her voice used to be. The apartment felt heavier, quieter, almost like it was mourning something it once knew. I went about my life in a strange rhythm. I'd wake up, make coffee, scroll through my phone, and every time her name would appear somewhere, mutual friends posting about her, photos of parties, laughter, her life continuing as though nothing had broken. It stung at first, but with each passing day, that sting dulled a little more. Then, 3 days later, she finally showed up, She stood outside my apartment door, makeup smudged, eyes red. When I opened the door, she didn't speak at first. She just looked at me like she was seeing someone she couldn't recognize anymore. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I stepped aside without saying a word. She walked in slowly, her gaze scanning the apartment. The empty shelves, the missing decorations, the bare walls. Everything that reminded me of her was gone. "You really sold everything," she said, her voice trembling slightly. I nodded. "You made it easy for me." She sat on the couch and buried her face in her hands. "James, I messed up. I know that post was stupid. I wasn't thinking. It was supposed to be funny, a throwback joke. I didn't mean for it to hurt you." I looked at her carefully. "You didn't mean to hurt me, or you didn't think I'd care?" She lifted her eyes, glossy and uncertain. "I didn't think it would blow up like that. I didn't think it would look bad. Look bad." I repeated, bitterness creeping into my tone. "Claire, you posted yourself sitting on your ex's lap with a caption that said, 'Sometimes you miss the old days.' What exactly did you expect people to think? That you were making a joke? Or that you missed him?" Her lips quivered. "I just wanted attention," she admitted quietly. "I was mad at you that day. You've been distant lately, and I wanted to feel wanted. It was stupid. I didn't even think about what it would do to you." There it was, the truth. She didn't post it out of nostalgia. She posted it for validation, to feed something inside her that always needed to be admired, desired, noticed. "Do you even hear yourself?" I said softly. "You wanted to feel wanted. So you humiliated me in front of everyone? Do you have any idea what that felt like?" Tears slid down her cheeks. "I know. I was selfish. I see that now. I ruined everything." I didn't answer right away. I just watched her cry, watched the woman I once adored unravel in front of me. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to reach out, to tell her it was okay. But the other part, the one that had been crushed by her betrayal, remained still. After a long silence, she whispered, "Can we fix this?" "Please, James. I'll delete the post. I'll apologize publicly if you want. I don't want to lose you." I sighed, leaning back on the couch. "Claire, you already did." Her breath hitched. "Don't say that. Please." I shook my head slowly. "You know what hurts the most? Not that you made a mistake, but that you didn't care how it would affect me until it was too late. You didn't respect me enough to think before you acted. That's not love." She covered her face, crying harder now. I know. James, please. We were happy. You can't just throw that away over one stupid post." I stood up and walked to the window. The sky outside was turning orange, the sun slowly dipping below the skyline. "It wasn't just a post," I said quietly. "It was a statement. It told me where your heart really was. And if you still have to seek validation from someone you supposedly left behind, then maybe you never truly left him." She didn't answer. Just silence, heavy and painful. After a moment, she got up and walked toward the door. She paused, her back to me, then turned around. "You'll regret this," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You'll regret letting go of someone who loved you." I met her eyes calmly. "Maybe I will, but I'd rather regret losing you than regret losing my self-respect." She left without another word. The sound of the door closing felt final, like the end of a chapter that had gone on too long. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry. I just felt done. Days turned into weeks, and life slowly began to reshape itself. I threw myself into work, spent time with friends, rediscovered old hobbies I neglected during our relationship. For the first time in a long time, I felt a strange peace, a quietness inside me that wasn't weighed down by doubt or insecurity. One evening, my friend Ethan invited me out for drinks. "You need to get out, man," he said. "Enough moping around. She's not worth it." I laughed softly. "I'm not moping, just processing." "Well, process with a beer in your hand," he said, grinning. At the bar, I ran into people who had seen the infamous post. Some looked awkward, others curious. But I didn't care. I wasn't embarrassed anymore. I had faced it, owned it, and let it go. A few weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that Claire tried to reach out again. She had deleted her social media for a while, apparently overwhelmed by the backlash after the post blew up. People had turned on her when they realized what she'd done. Even Mark, her ex, had publicly commented on the photo after the incident, saying, "Some memories are better left in the past." That comment alone sparked a storm of speculation. It turned out that Mark had a girlfriend who wasn't thrilled to see that photo either. Claire's throwback joke had burned more bridges than she anticipated. Part of me pitied her, but another part of me knew it was a result of choices she made without thinking of the consequences. About a month later, she sent me a text. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I want to say I'm sorry again. You didn't deserve what I did. I'm working on myself now. I hope you're doing okay." I read it twice, then deleted it, not out of anger, but because I had already accepted that some things are better left unanswered. By then, I had already started seeing life differently. I spent weekends hiking, cooking, reading, things I hadn't done in years. I found peace in solitude, realizing that love shouldn't feel like constant anxiety or comparison. It should feel like home. A few months later, at a friend's engagement party, I met someone new. Her name was Lily. She was kind, soft-spoken, but confident in a quiet way. There was no pretense, no games, no need for attention. She asked me questions, listened genuinely, and never once made me feel like I had to compete for her focus. We started talking more often. At first, I was cautious. I didn't want to rush into anything. But the more I got to know her, the more I realized that love could exist without chaos. One night, I told her everything about what had happened with Claire. I expected her to judge or pity me, but she just said softly, "You didn't lose her, James. She lost you. You just learned what love isn't." That stuck with me. Months passed, and my life settled into something I hadn't felt in years. Peaceful, balanced, happy. The scars were still there, but they didn't ache anymore. They were just reminders of what I'd overcome. Then one morning, I received a message request on social media. It was from Claire again. She had attached a photo. It was a picture of me and Lily at a public event we'd attended recently. The message said, "You look happy. I'm glad." I smiled when I saw it. For the first time, I felt no resentment, no bitterness. Just gratitude that things turned out the way they did. I replied with a simple, "Thank you. I wish you the best." That was the last time we ever spoke. Looking back now, I realized that what felt like a betrayal was actually the universe's way of redirecting me. Claire's photo, her caption, her choices, they all served a purpose. They broke something inside me that needed a break so that I could rebuild stronger. Sometimes, the most painful endings are the ones that save you. If you had told me back then that I'd be grateful for that moment, I would have laughed. But now, standing where I am, I see it clearly. Losing Claire wasn't a loss. It was the beginning of something better. Self-respect, peace, and a love that doesn't need validation from the past. And maybe that's the real lesson. When someone shows you that they miss the old days, let them go back. Because you're not supposed to compete with someone's past. You're supposed to build a future with someone who values the present. And that's exactly what I'm doing now.